I had to look for something low impact to play because a little over a month ago I came down with a nasty case of vertigo. I still have vertigo, and then last weekend I got really sick. So I looked through the Steam library and I found Planet Coaster. I've had this for a long time and I haven't looked at it for more than 15 minutes before now. So right off the bat in this scenario, I'm screwed in two ways. First of all, there's nothing here. It's just a park. There's nothing amusing about it at all. So I had to throw up a couple of cheap rides, and I only had about $5,000 to work with. It turns out that Gulpy, the guy who owns the place, took out a $10,000 loan, of which only $5,000 is available. So I have to pay off that loan and work with only $5,000. Now, what happened to the other $5,000? Your guess is as good as mine. Maybe he blew it on that dinosaur suit he prances around the park in. And possibly another dinosaur suit for his girlfriend. I really don't know. So there's my first ride. Just one of those bouncy tower things. It was cheap, and I figured, okay, this might have some sort of amusement factor to it. And I wait for the throngs of people to come into the park to ride my bouncy, amusing ride. They'll show up any time now, I'm sure. And if you look very carefully, you could see Gulpy bouncing around in his little dinosaur costume. Okay, the throngs have arrived. The queue's nice and full. Let's go for a ride. Whee! Yeah, not bad for the 12 or so bucks I'm charging for this thing. But I need a second ride, and here it is. Figured I'd spruce up the line with a few trees plopped in here. I gotta be honest, I thought this ride would do a lot more than it actually does. But it's there. You gotta have two rides, because if you have a one-ride park and it breaks down, you're going down the toilet. And the balance sheet paints a grim picture, doesn't it? Look at all that red. Which led me to this dubious flirtation with putting an ATM in the park. Look at the building that is surrounding that thing. The actual ATM's just that little white spot in the front middle. The rest of it, I don't know what that's for. But I thought, alright, maybe people will spend a little more money if I give them ready access to cash. And for some reason, I have two soda shops almost right next to each other. That wasn't me. They were there when the scenario started. Well, at least if it breaks down, nobody's gonna die. In fact, they might not even notice that it broke down. And we could see here that far from making money, this ATM is actually costing me a pretty penny. So I thought, okay, it lets me charge a fee, I'll charge a fee. Completely forgetting the fact that no one's using it. People have been complaining that the park had no bathrooms, and they didn't listen to me when I said, well, I could afford one if you start spending money. So I investigated the prices. Look at my options. Look at that clown. That's the cheapest option. If you have to walk through a clown's mouth to get into the John, what do you have to deal with on the inside? There's a happy pair. She didn't buy those sunglasses here at the park. Now, it's a really good thing that in this game you don't have to hire these guys. Basically, the ride operators, I guess, would be the heading they come under. Because if they quit on you, I don't know what I would do. Now, nothing says amusement more than cool lighting, so I decided to play around. At first, I didn't even know there were lights available in the game. Turns out there are many, many lights. And some of them move. I was kind of curious if they just, you know, are just set pieces or if they actually throw out light and shafts of light. Obviously, they do. This isn't particularly amusing or good looking, but... And I put some colored floodlights there on this center rock piece thing. For some reason, lights always look good on rocks. I don't really know why. Maybe it's because the rocks have texture and the lights accent the texture. I don't know. In any case, it works. I don't know if it causes people to spend any more money in the park, but I like the way it looks at least. My camera work, on the other hand, needs a lot of practice. Okay, it's time to start thinking about a third ride at this point. This is what I settled on. Turns out it's a lot more massive than the picture leads one to believe. So over here's where I decided to set this thing up. First of all, it fits. And second of all, it starts to fill in this other, not very much used part of the park. And here it is in action. It really didn't do anything that I expected it to do. I thought it was going to be something very different from this. I don't know, maybe I was caught up in the Wagner, but I made the unfortunate decision to ride this thing. And if you recall, I have vertigo. This was an unpleasant experience. That's the one that got me right there. That's the one that sent me to the trash can. I decided to play with the lights more. Something just wasn't quite there with those rocks. Here we go, a nice pale purple. That's it. That's the look. Yeah, well, I think it looks decent anyway. Well, you got people lined up at Chief Beef there. I don't know at this point if the other drink stall actually had a vendor in it, but I wanted more food options, and then I discovered this. I had no idea about this. Each one of those little boxes is a different food place. If you look at, this is when you look at the custom menu. If you look at the blueprints, you only have a few to choose from. They're all really ugly. But if you go to custom, you get just the box that sells the food. Right? So I figured, all right, I'm going to plop down a little pizza box here somewhere. Because people were still complaining they didn't have enough food. This whole process turned out to be a lot trickier than I thought it would be. I don't know why, but for some reason it was really important for me to incorporate the pizza place in that wreck of a ship scenery thing. Okay, there's the pizza box. Finally, in place. Then I got the idea to try and get rid of those planks. And of course the whole ship disappears along with the other drink stall that I didn't really want anyway. So at the end of all of that, I just have a box that sells room temperature frozen pizzas. But at some point I realized, wait a minute, I've got all of these little pieces here. Surely I can construct some kind of building around the pizza box. And how hard could it really be? Turns out it was quite difficult indeed. Yeah, that did not go well at all. I decided to just leave it as a box with a facing on it. But the balance sheet's looking a little bit better. At some point, I did pay off that loan, and that freed up about an extra $500 a month because I also lowered the amount I was paying each month on the loan so I could put a little more money back into the park. And when I had the loan paid off, I'm pretty sure I did at this point, I decided, well, we gotta have a carousel. Nothing says amusement like a carousel. That's when I discovered I can actually raise and lower the rides too. That helps them fit into place because that is a good place, if you ask me, for a carousel. You don't need a really long queue line because not that many people are gonna ride it. You just want to have the option there. And people like to look at carousels too. Now at this point, I decided I was going to try and build some sort of food court. And I don't understand this grid thing that pops up. I don't know how to use it. I don't know really what I can use it for. All I know is it bases off of something, whether it's a ride or another piece of path or I don't know what. I don't understand how to get the actual pieces you want plopped down inside this grid. So eventually I had something here I thought I could use, even though it sort of looks like a thought cloud from a comic strip. Yeah, I couldn't figure out how to get rid of that. And after just a stupid amount of time, I finally wound up with some idea of what I was doing. Started over from scratch, put my 4 little blocks for food down, and started covering it all up with something that looks a little better. And for the most part, there we have it. Yes, people started actually using it. Took a small amount of pride in that. Looks better than the clown bathroom anyway. And then what appeared to be an unhappy guest caught my eye. Joanne Cheek. And I looked at what she was thinking. What's yours is mine, courtesy of pickpocketing. Why, you're a low-down, dirty thief. That's what you are. Naturally, I followed the miscreant. She's a soccer mom. She's a pickpocketing soccer mom. Look at that. That's just shameful. Look at her acting all innocent. Started hunting around to see if there was something I could do about this. There we go. Eject group. I'll bet that'll work. Well, let's find out. She's gonna rip off those people in front of her. Look at her walking, looking around. Oh, isn't this a nice park? I'm going to have to bring the soccer team here. Unbelievable. The nerve. Oh, here comes Gulpy Park's finest. Yeah, kick her ass out of here. Yes, gone. Joanne Cheek's reign of terror is over. Enjoy the walk of shame, you lowlife. So what started off as a very unamusing place has turned into a little bit of an amusement park. I've got to be honest. Not altogether bad. But it's still missing something. A roller coaster, perhaps. Now, I didn't have anything like enough money to build one myself, nor do I have any idea how to do that yet. So I picked a canned roller coaster, futzed around a little bit, got it in there. Not too bad, if you ask me. Let's take a ride. Okay. That also was not a terribly good idea with vertigo, but it's not a bad coaster. Then I rode it again later at night because I did a little futzing around with the lighting on it. I wanted to see how that would play out at night. Moderately cool. I mean, it's not a great coaster, but it's a coaster, and it's not bad, and it's budget friendly. So, there we have it. Okay, so I've gone as far as I want to go with this park, and it's time to do a little summary here. So first of all, the big goal, the main big goal was to establish a positive cash flow. So let's take a look. I believe I've done that. It varies from month to month, but that's because I'm building stuff, people quit, what have you. All right, that's good. One big key to that was paying off that stupid loan. Loans are just bad hoodoo. Now, as far as other goals, they have their goals and I have mine. So let's take a look here. Attract 500 guests. Yeah, I did that. Achieve a park value. I did that. Employ 5 vendors. 60% average staff happiness. Good freaking luck. I mean, really. And who can blame them? These jobs suck. Have no staff member leave for 2 months. That happened early on. Attract 1,000 guests. Oh, I did that at some point. Okay, good. And the rest is employ 10 vendors with a 70% average staff. You know, that stuff's not going to happen. And I just don't feel like playing this particular park long enough to make it happen. Okay, so let's talk aesthetics, building, design, what have you. I actually, if you look at it from up above here, it really doesn't look, I mean, I managed to shoehorn or slip these rides into places where there was just empty space. So I didn't really have to change the terrain, the basic look of the whole place a lot. And that's good, I think, because some of it actually, looks kind of cool, sort of tropical islandy-ish. There's a lot of unused space, but I did manage to spread things out over this whole main center island. And I don't even know how far out I could go. I don't know where the boundary is. If there's, a limit, a property line out there somewhere that I can't cross, I have no idea. Now, the rides themselves, the ones I built, I really don't have a whole lot of control over how they look. Come to think of it, I don't think, unless you build a coaster from scratch, which I'll get to at some point, I'm sure, but you really don't have much control over that in this game. They just look like what they look like. You can change the colors. You can add music to them. You can even add your own music. I'm not going to do that probably because I don't know where my music is these days. I'm not totally unhappy with it. The big thing I did in this, as far as this goes, was if I can get the camera to work right. That's one thing that's very finicky about this game that I don't like is the camera. Okay, the little food court that I built here. I actually put a building around it, and I am not altogether unhappy with it. It doesn't have any gables there, but, for a first attempt, I don't think it's too shabby. The chief beef I did move from the front of the park just because I wanted to get all the food together in one place. And I think if I was going to change something here in the future, I would put the staff building or a staff building somewhere closer to here, because when these guys all go on break, it's a long walk there and a long walk back. Now, that bathroom is heinous. That is some kind of firehouse, Ghostbusters themed bathroom that just totally looks out of place here. And the reason I picked that, just to review, in case I didn't mention it before, let's look at the cans here. This thing is just god awful. I mean, I can't imagine making anybody who needs to go to the John walk through a clown's mouth. That's terrible. But it's cheap. It's the cheapest of all of these, actually. The Ghostbusters, next cheapest. And then we start getting into some serious money for these themed things. Pirate Toys, $865. I mean, look at the prices for these. So if I had it to do over again, I would most definitely just put up my own building with a bathroom inside of it. That doesn't have to be fancy. I have never been to an amusement park where they made a themed experience out of going to the crapper, ever. They're just bathrooms. They're labeled bathrooms. That's it. They're often tucked away, because they don't want to associate bodily functions with you having fun, but there's nothing special about them. Unless they're clean. That would be special. What else? Let's see. Another thing I played around with in this a lot, again, is lighting. And if I can change it to, how does this work? Let's change it to 10 p.m. And that didn't work. Oh, okay, there we go. All right. If you get down to street level, I actually like how this thing looks. Those floodlights that you can color actually do a nice job. The lights on the rides themselves, I don't really have a problem with. Of course, I have absolutely no control over them. Maybe I can change the color on those. I don't know. These searchlights here, I wouldn't do that again. I was really just playing around, seeing, what they did, how they work, that sort of thing. I actually prefer the tighter beam of these guys. These are, I guess, sort of like very lights on the ground or something. I don't know. But the searchlights just have too big a splash of light for what I'm trying to do with them there. But what I did really wind up liking, even though it's not my design, is the roller coaster. Again, I like how it goes out over the water, but I do like the lighting effect. on the business end out here. I would take some more time to kind of tweak it a little bit. It might be just a little too on the nose, if you know what I mean. But I like it. I got several complaints about the queue line for this roller coaster being plain and ordinary and boring. Okay, fair enough. There's really nothing there but a couple of trees. And the odd thing is you can spruce up the queue line and then charge more money, is what I'm given to understand here, which doesn't make a damn bit of sense to me either. But that's okay, it's just a game. You know, again, a real amusement park, anytime they've tried to make a themed experience out of waiting in line, it's just lost on me. Waiting in line is not something to be enjoyed, it's something to be endured. And, you know, the only thing I've ever found useful added to a line is when they put, you know, like a little drink cart there. You can buy something while you're waiting. But that's okay. This game rewards you for it. Fine. I'll give it a shot sometime. So there it is. Planet Coaster. A nice chill game, or so I thought, for when I'm sick. It's old, but it's fun. And I think I'm going to be playing some more of it in the future. So that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Hey, take a second, hit the subscribe button if you like this. If not, hey, give me a dislike. That helps too with the algorithm. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.